Chapter 4. I see dead people. Stepping out into the bustle of Maverick Square feels surprisingly mundane, almost as if I'm embarking on a daily errand, only without the allure of caffeine to spur me on. The hands of my watch, stubbornly stuck at the moment of my departure from the living, states it's around 10 in the morning. Surprisingly, judging by the sun in the sky, it seems to have accidentally kept me approximately on time. Meandering through the square itself, I'm hit with a wave of gratitude for the dignity of being fully clothed at my time of passing. The intricacies of this spectral existence are yet to be fully unveiled, but navigating it in full attire seems like a solid plan. Even better to have shoes on my feet. Bathed in the blissful ignorance of the sun, how is it I can still relish the touch of sunlight in my current state? This question and unexpected pleasure temporarily stops me in my tracks. It's then, almost as if beckoned by a force as irresistible as last orders at my favourite bar, that a strong pull towards the west tugs at me. As I make my way to the East Boston Greenway, echoes of my former life casually greet me. There's the convenience store, my sanctuary from mundane shopping escapades so dull they could send a sleepless soul to slumber. Its consistency was a peculiar comfort, offering a side of existential quandary with my morning cereal. And then there's the pub I dared to frequent exactly twice. My first foray was a failed attempt to discover a haven where football wasn't called soccer. No such luck, but the effort was commendable. The second visit was marred by a date that nosedived so rapidly it made discussions about the offside rule seem appealing. Her enthusiasm for football was non-existent, and her tolerance for my presence even less so, leading to her swift and unceremonious exit before we could debate the virtues of a midfielder's passing skills versus their stamina. Departing Maverick Square, leaving its blend of old charm and new world conveniences in my wake, I navigate through East Boston with a peculiar kind of caution. It's a dance of dodging the living, executed with an almost slapstick precision. The East Boston Greenway offers a reprieve, its lush trail a vivid contrast to the concrete maze. This strip of tranquility, a verdant vein through the city's heart, guides me, an unnoticed wanderer, towards the water's edge, and in the direction of Faneuil Hall Marketplace. Once arrived, meandering through the marketplace feels akin to leafing through a vivid photo album of urban existence. Amid the daily bustle, a young vocalist captures the limelight, her performance a lively showcase of raw talent and fervour. The marketplace transforms into her arena, and she delivers her take on a modern hit, each note filling the atmosphere around her. Her vitality is contagious, her movements a choreography in sync with her melody, eliciting smiles and rhythmic foot taps from her audience. It's evident she's found her niche, with the pleasure of her craft radiating like beams of sunlight. As she hits the high point of her performance, the gathering around her, me included, erupts in applause. I find myself joining in, forgetting that my gestures of appreciation couldn't be heard. Observing her revel in the applause, the scene strikes a chord. Her act injects a burst of life into Boston's core, prompting me to ponder the myriad experiences I've overlooked while ensconced in the digital realm, either at work or home. Roaming Faneuil Hall Marketplace, something becomes very clear. I'm far from solitary in my spectral sauntering. It appears I'm a member of an unseen gathering, something I'm calling the Dearly Departed Club. This assembly is as eclectic as a subway car at peak hour. There's a trendsetter ghost exuding magazine cover glam, and then a character whose attire hollers Roaring Twenties Reveller. Yet, the prize for most memorable goes to a fellow adorned in merely a bath towel. His paunch proudly leads the charge, a back scrubber in hand, as if he's just popped out from his last shower. It's a sight that coaxes a quiet chuckle out of me, a reminder that, against all odds, today's shaping up to be rather pleasant. My suppressed laughter, however, doesn't escape unnoticed. Towel Man catches the echo of my mirth, shoots me a withering look, and with a dramatic flourish, flips me off. Thankfully, his towel stays put, sparing us from a more embarrassing moment. Opting for prudence, I hasten my pace. Drifting through Boston's heart, I'm struck by the unfolding beauty of the city. a stark contrast to my erstwhile focused life. The odd sensation of my phone still in my pocket, a mute witness to my previous life, allows me to truly observe the world anew. Starting at Boston Common, where the pulse of the city vibrates with a mixture of vibrancy and calm, my journey takes me through Beacon Hill. Here, the historic allure of cobblestone streets and stately facades captures my imagination, each whispering stories from yesteryears. The architectural grandeur of Back Bay then envelops me, presenting a seamless fusion of history and modernity set against the city's iconic skyline. Kenmore Square is alive with anticipation, its energy drawing me towards the legendary Fenway Park. The collective buzz of the crowd, the charm of the old ballpark, and the expansive view of the city meld into a vibrant tapestry that epitomizes Boston's essence. This voyage, liberated from the digital leash of a smartphone, unveils the city's true splendor. Boston unfolds as a realm of intricate details and profound connections, serving as a poignant reminder of the experiences we forfeit when ensnared by the luminescence of screens. Upon reaching Fenway Park, its majesty strikes me, evoking the sensation of being a tourist who has stumbled upon a hidden gem rather than a landmark. Despite living in the city for a year, I never visited this iconic site, a fact I now attribute to the endless quest for the perfect slice of pizza, rather than lack of interest or time. Getting closer to the grand old ballpark, I realise I'm not alone in my admiration. The area buzzes with members of the dearly departed club, the DDC. Spirits from various epochs drawn to this spot as if it were an unofficial congregation point for those who always said next season once too often. The gathering of spectral enthusiasts around Fenway Park, each sporting attire from different eras, sparks a profound realisation. Fenway transforms into more than just a baseball haven. It becomes a bucket list destination for souls who have left their schedules behind. The camaraderie among the departed, united by a love for the game, or perhaps just the allure of its history, offers an odd comfort. It's a poignant reminder of the shared human experiences that transcend the physical boundaries of life and death. This insight elicits a light-hearted moment of self-reflection. Here I stand, not for the game's traditional delights, but as part of a decidedly ticketless assembly, sharing in the universal sentiment of seizing missed opportunities. Fenway Park, with its historic charm, serves not just as a backdrop for America's pastime, but as a meeting ground for those of us who have postponed our visits once too often. As I leave the park in its spectral assembly behind, the thought of ghosts lining up for ethereal snacks brings a smile to my face, a whimsical end to a day of unexpected fellowship. The journey continues through Brookline, where the sudden shift from urban energy to the area's tranquil, almost whimsical atmosphere is striking. This serene setting serves as a gentle transition to the more academic vibe of Boston University. The campus is a hive of activity, with students caught in the perpetual dilemma between academic commitments and the lure of leisure, a vivid reminder of life's constant balancing act. Crossing the Charles River presents a picturesque scene straight from a postcard, showcasing Newton's elegant residences. Each home, seemingly part of an unspoken competition for beauty, prompts musings on life's aspirations and the simple joy of appreciating such sights, unburdened by worldly concerns. Approaching the I-95, the steady thrum of traffic anchors me back to reality, contrasting sharply with my newfound spectral wanderings. This journey, marked by moments of introspection, humour, and the discovery of kindred spirits, underscores the vastness of experiences yet to explore, even in the afterlife. Chapter 5. Reality Bites. As I venture deeper into autumn, the night wraps around me, transforming familiar daytime streets into a maze of shadows and uncertainty. The contrast is striking. Where once there was clarity and routine, now ambiguity reigns, with the darkness morphing benign environments into scenes ripe for the imagination's darker tendencies. Streetlights, though intended as beacons of safety, instead cast an eerie glow, creating shadows that seem almost sentient in their movements. It's as if the very essence of the night has seeped into the cracks of the sidewalk, into the rustling of the leaves, giving life to the inanimate and form to the formless. The feeling of being watched grows, intensifying with each step. The rational part of me knows it's the trickery of light and shadow, the way a half-seen figure can morph into a lurking threat in the corner of one's vision. Yet, the primal part, the remnants of my human instincts, screams a warning. It's a reminder that fear, the most basic of emotions, doesn't dissipate with the cessation of a heartbeat. My pace quickens, the complete absence of noise unnerving me even further in these empty streets. The lack of sound of my own movement becomes a harbinger of panic, a crescendo building to an inevitable climax, and then something that isn't a shadow moves. Not merely a trick of the light this time, but a deliberate, menacing advance. The tension snaps. Fight or flight? The question is rhetorical. My body reacts before my mind can weigh the odds. I flee, darting down alleyways, my formless feet barely touching the ground. It's a surreal experience, this ghostly flight, propelled by a fear that should no longer have any hold on me. The pursuit is relentless. The shadows gaining ground, morphing from abstract threats into a palpable danger. It's a chase that defies the logic of my new existence, a stark reminder that, in the afterlife, old fears and reactions not only persist, but are magnified, stripped of the comforting logic of the living. This heightened tension, the fear of an unseen attacker, culminates in a moment of clarity amidst the panic. I am being hunted, not by the spectres of my imagination, but by something altogether more real within the spectral world. The realization is chilling, a cold rush that somehow feels more intense than any physical sensation remembered from life. My escape turns into a frantic dash through Waltham's maze of alleys, each turn a silent plea for safety. The chase feels surreal without the sound of footsteps or laboured breathing behind me, nothing but the quiet of the night and my own racing thoughts. Could this all be in my head? The absence of noise makes me doubt the reality of my pursuer, yet the fear gripping me is undeniable, a visceral response that seems out of place in my spectral existence. The deeper I go, the more shadows seem to come alive, stretching out like dark fingers trying to ensnare me. This is me panicking. It has to be me panicking. The once familiar streets now feel like a trap, designed to confuse and confine. It's a silent film where I'm both the star and the victim, running from an unseen foe that might just be a figment of my imagination. The rational part of me questions the logic of this chase. How can something I can't hear or see terrify me so? But logic has little sway over the primal fear that drives me forward, a reminder that some human instincts persist even after death. As I weave through the darkness, the line between reality and paranoia blurs. The city, once a familiar backdrop to my life, now feels like an alien landscape, a stage set for a nightmare from which I can't wake. I'm propelled not by courage but by outright fear and sheer instinct, the kind that tells you to run even when you're not sure what you're running from. The tension builds to a breaking point, a crescendo of silent screams and the ghost of a heartbeat pounding in my ears. It's a stark revelation that in death, as in life, fear knows no bounds. Thriving in the absence of light and sound, proving that even in the afterlife, the shadows of old fears can chase us, relentless and unyielding. Just when I've nearly convinced myself this nightmare is a figment of my overactive imagination and begin to slow my frantic pace, reality, or whatever twisted version of it I now inhabit, proves me disastrously wrong. Out of the suffocating darkness, I'm blindsided by an attack so sudden, so vicious, it shatters any illusion of safety. My assailant is a spirit, but nothing like the members of the DDC I'd encountered earlier. This one is a vision of horror. His face is a grotesque tapestry of tears and gashes, his body a distorted mockery of human form, as if he's been torn from the very fabric of a nightmare. The attack is merciless. I'm thrown to the ground with a force that belies our ethereal nature, the impact shocking in its intensity. The spirit's assault is relentless, a barrage of blows that rain down on me with a fury that leaves no room for doubt or denial. There's a wildness to his actions, a madness that seems to fuel his rage, and his wails pierce the night. Pinned and powerless, I endure the onslaught until, as abruptly as it began, it ceases. With a final bone-chilling scream that seems to echo across the spectral plane, my tormentor vanishes into the darkness from which he emerged. Lying there, battered and bruised in a way I wouldn't have thought possible in death, I'm introduced to a cruel new reality. Rule 3. Death does not subdue sensation, including pain. The agony I feel is a stark, brutal reminder that whatever existence I now lead is bound by rules far beyond my understanding. Rules that allow for suffering as keen and real as anything I knew in life. As the silence settles back around me, broken only by the distant hum of the living world, I am left to ponder the implications of this encounter. The pain is a tangible tether to the life I once knew, a life filled with sensations both joyous and terrible. In the aftermath of the attack, as I gather myself and rise from the ground, the night around me no longer feels merely dark. It's a domain where unknown dangers lurk, and the lessons of this new existence are learned in the harshest ways possible.